By both, I mostly mean me, but you understand. Same thing, Patreon's changing. It's doing that switch over.
Technology can be a friend or an enemy.
Or an enemy.
Mostly, it's a frenemy.
Have you seen, you probably haven't, have you seen anything about this whole Wicked poster?
No.
Do
I want to know?
I'm going to share because it's
Do I
ridiculous.
really want to know?
You don't, but I'm going to tell you anyway.
Okay.
Because it's absolutely ridiculous to me, and I want to share. And you're stuck, so you get to hear
I
it.
am.
So you get to hear how I feel about it either way. Hi, everybody.
Hello. Happy Sunday.
Hello. Thank you, Ken. Happy day after. Yes, we are recovering. We had a house full of toddlers yesterday. Pretty damn well behaved, if I may say. Yeah, it's closed. I think because they were trying to stop Logan.
Okay.
They have another door.
Yes,
they have another door. They're fine. Good afternoon, Arthur. Hello to you. Let's see. Putting everything where it's supposed to be.
Or as they sing in Sound of You and You and You.
Yeah. But that's adieu.
Yeah.
We're on the other side of that. We haven't made it to the adieu part yet. We're just greeting. Okay.
We're just greeting.
You know us, just greeting. I think we're working in all the places we're supposed to work.
Well, that would be nice.
It would appear that we are.
That would be a nice thing.
They are about to update Restream, which is one of the platforms that we use. And they're about to update Patreon, which is another platform that we use. Mm-hmm. And I need them to just leave it alone because I can't
if it
with
ain't
the changes.
Broke, don't fix it.
I just don't need this in my life. I just don't need them to change things at all. Hello. Have we recovered from yesterday? Well, as I say, because the kids are, so yesterday was my daughter's birthday. My daughter Daisy is now 3 whole years old, which I genuinely cannot believe. And we had her birthday party yesterday. This was her very first real birthday party.
The first one she was conscious of.
She knew it was coming. She was excited about it. We talked about it. Same thing. This is the first year she kind of knows what Halloween is, and she's very excited about it. And we're going to dress up, and we're going to try and do, I think, a little bit of trick-or-treating. She's been practicing trick-or-treating with me, which is very funny. And what she does is she comes up to me and she pretends to either ring a doorbell or knock. And then I have to pretend to open it. And then I say trick or treat. And she goes, trick or treat. And then I have to hand her pretend candy. And then she goes, thank you, Mama. It's adorable. It's absolutely adorable. But yeah, so it's a really big year. It's a really big year and a lot of changes. And because our house, we are all together, we all live it. We live every change, every growth spurt, everything. So yes, yesterday we had a house full of little ones here, all of her little best friends and parents, and it was wonderful. And I had a great time. You two sat, which was probably the wisest option.
Yeah, we just let it happen.
You sat and let the chaos go around you.
Right.
So yeah, it was wonderful. What are you saying?
We're hearing from London. We're hearing from Germany.
Yep. Thank you. My children are now 7 and 9. My wife and I like to think back to when they were so little. That was a particularly magical time. It is.
Yeah.
It really is. And that's the thing. As crazy as all of it is, as exhausting as all of it is, it's just so special. And yeah, I'm very, very grateful that we get to do it. And I'm really grateful that we all get to do it together.
Yeah.
Because I grew up with my mom's mom living in our house. My grandma Judy lived with us my whole life up until she passed away. And that greatly affected who I am as a person.
Absolutely.
In a very significant way.
Absolutely.
In large part, your compassion.
Yep.
I'm a compassionate person.
Yes. She
and
learned
part
empathy.
Of that.
She learned empathy.
Yeah.
From dealing with her grandma, who she loved,
mm-hmm.
but whose health steadily
declined.
deteriorated.
Yeah. And we had nurses in the house and all kinds of things. So yeah, that was a huge thing for me. And so Daisy will find grandma's walker for her. Daisy will bring grandpa his cane. She also brings them ice cream, which is possibly better than the walking aids.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that she gets to do that part.
Yeah.
It's very, very special. Anyway.
And she greets everybody she meets. Whether she's
everyone.
meeting them or not.
Absolutely everyone. She talks to everybody. Absolutely everybody. If you come within, not even gonna say 5 feet, about 10 feet, she'll start talking to you. Yeah, she's wonderful. She's crazy. Robin, you've been traveling. Wow. So he went to Colorado, Utah, Idaho, Yellowstone, Wyoming, Montana, and South Dakota. That is probably a beautiful time to do that right now. I don't think you were with us last week. Daisy and I are coming to England at the end of November. Lord help us. We are going to England, just the two of us. We'll see how that goes. Bob Gurr turned 93 on Friday.
Oh,
he is 90 years and 1 day older than Daisy. That's right, Ryan. That's right. And you know what? If you're going to be compared to someone, we should all be Bob Gurr.
Yeah.
Every one of us should have
Bob Gurr is I don't know if he's one of the original Imagineers. I think he was one of the
pretty early. Yeah. Yeah.
But pretty much anything with wheels.
Yeah.
Anything locomotive at Disneyland
is him.
He had a hand in or completely designed.
Yeah. Oh, Sean is checking in from exotic Sacramento.
Yes.
Beautiful. Victoria flew in from Switzerland last night. Well, lucky you. Lucky you. I've never been. I've always wanted to go. I really hope that I get to go there one day. Let's see. We've got hello, everybody. Hi. Harrison says, we used to take our kids trick-or-treating at Elsa Lanchester's house. She was always generous with the kids.
Oh, that's nice.
Well, yeah, there's so many. We've talked about in my neighborhood in Toluca Lake, where I grew up, you actually had to disclose Halloween when you sold or purchased a house because they bus in thousands of kids. And when I say that, I mean thousands, like 20 to 30,000 kids, because it's flat. Most of the houses decorate and participate, and it's very safe and it's well lit, and there's tons of people. I really miss kids trick-or-treating. I have to say, I loved Halloween, and I loved not trick-or-treating, but I loved sitting at our house and handing out candy, because seeing all the kids is just one, especially the little ones early on when you get like the littles and you've got, tiny Iron Man coming up the steps. It's so sweet. And we would say about 9 o'clock, we'd start to shut the door, because that's when you got the teenagers, and that not just, but like the 1920 who were just like, hey, candy. And you go,
no. They wouldn't even go to the trouble. They wouldn't.
Leonard did not enjoy this part.
No. The thuggish trick-or-treaters.
He didn't like that they wouldn't. What do you say? They have to play the game.
Yeah.
That's what my dad says. You have to play the game.
Say trick or treat.
Say trick or treat.
Damn it.
If you want candy. Otherwise, don't come to my house. But now where we live, it's just nobody trick or treats here at all. I mean, literally not a single human.
The first year we bought a ton of candy.
And nobody.
And the doorbell didn't ring.
Nobody. So yeah, so we're trying to figure out where we're going to take Daisy and some of her friends this year. We may go to Toluca Lake for a little bit. I'm very excited. Again, so many of you are parents who join us, but man, yes, I will tell the Bob Hope trick or treats. Yes. So many of you are parents, and you know that every single first, you don't even realize how many firsts there are going to be, because it's first everything, you're new to life. So it's first everything. And I treasure the firsts. Your friends in Van Nuys get over 300 kids. Yes, we get nothing. Well,
we
here.
happen to live on a block where the houses are mostly separated.
Yeah, it's dark.
Our
street is dark.
By gates.
Yeah.
Some of which are closed, some of which are open.
Yeah, it's not welcoming. It's a nice neighborhood, but it's not welcoming.
You can't walk easily from one house to the next.
Yeah, and it's really dark.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot of lights on our street, which we found out. My husband and I would try to like go for walks in the late afternoon, and once the sun goes down, it's black. And we thought, well, that's not ideal. Yeah. So the Bob Hope thing. So Toluca Lake was famous for many reasons, not the least of which it was home to a number of stars and folks like Walt Disney. It has a lot of history in Hollywood. And one of my dad's favorites, one of your very favorite cowboys, Gabby Hayes.
Oh, Gabby Hayes
lived in
lives
Toluca Lake. This brings him a great amount of joy.
Big deal, big excitement.
But when I was a kid, the two of the probably the most popular I'll say three, Kirsten Dunst, she would put on full-on shows. She would hire stunt people to jump off the roof of her house. It was nuts. Rick Dees, now if you are a local to here, you may know Rick Dees because he was a very, very popular DJ on Kiss FM. He did handmade candy apples. He would make the candy apples himself and hand those out. That was a big thing. But I would say the sort of most legendary is Bob Hope. Bob and Dolores, they wouldn't stay out the whole time, but they would come out on Halloween and take lots of pictures with people. But they also would give out
Bob Hope tchotchkes.
Frisbee,
Bob Hope kazoo,
frisbee, paddleball, mask
with a Skino's caricature.
Yes, with the signature caricature on it, and it would say "Happy Halloween, Bob Hope." So my assignment every year was get there first, get whatever the hell he's giving out, and don't touch it. Get it home safely, and then bring it to them, and then I could do whatever else I needed to do.
Yeah,
but I had to get to Bob Hope.
Yeah.
And I say they would come out. It was really lovely. I loved that.
Patrick Curtis, who grew up in that neighborhood, had a very clear memory of knocking on Bela Lugosi's door further up that same street we lived on, near the Rio Vista School.
Yeah.
And
he would open it
in full Dracula regalia and invite kids into Bob for apples.
Which again, it's funny because if you think about now, if you said that to someone and they'd be like, a stranger dressed as Dracula invited you into their home to Bob for apples? But these were the good old days.
Yeah, and it was no stranger. He was Bela Lugosi.
Bela Lugosi, exactly. It was fine. No, it is. There's so many things I think about now with social media because it is funny to think about stuff like that. I don't have videos of Bob Hope at his house because I didn't have a phone and I didn't have a phone that had a camera. And by the time I did, I was 16 or something like that. It's like, so I don't have videos of all of this.
And Bob had left the building.
Exactly. Yeah. But by the time that I had a phone with a camera, Bob was no longer with us. But it is weird to think sometimes about like all the different stuff that you did. And it just has to live in your head because you didn't have a video of it. So yeah, that's a bit of a strange one. But yeah, I'm excited. Are any of you guys dressing up for Halloween? And are any of you guys going to be trick-or-treating? You're saying, I did not know that about Kirsten Dunst. Yeah, so Kirsten Dunst, it's nothing to do with Spider-Man or anything like that. She just loved Halloween, and she would always have a ton of candy at her house, but would also do all kinds of fun things, decorating. It was just, it was before Spider-Man. It was just a good time. So yeah, life before computers and cell phones. It's weird, as I say, because on the one hand, like I'm so grateful to have a camera in my pocket to capture as much as I possibly can of my child. How special that I can video her anytime I want. My dad will sometimes record her talking just so that we have, her talking. Because especially it's changing all the time now. She has more words, she has more things, but it's amazing to get to sort of save it. At the same time, it's very strange that we now all have the ability to do this.
Yeah.
It's like everything else, it's both. Victoria is going to be Tigger handing out candy. I love that.
That's nice.
I love that.
That's nice.
Daisy is a pink princess. What does that mean? She's a princess wearing a lot of pink. That's what she decided she wants to be. So
and why should we try to bend her will?
Nope.
But
this is the first year I said, Daisy, what do you want to be for Halloween? She goes, princess. Like, all right. As you wish, madam. Princess it is. Yeah, it's great. I was just at a trick or treat event at my brother's neighborhood yesterday. Yeah, there's so much that they do, which is really nice.
Well, Halloween has been commercialized
Yeah.
to such frightening degree.
Yeah.
It's
I
become.
really like this whole trunk or treat thing, though. This gets bigger and bigger, and I'm a fan.
What's that?
Basically, people decorate the trunks of their cars, and you sort of like line them all up. So you do it with kids,
Oh,
and you trunk or treat. And that way, if you can't do a real trick or treat in a neighborhood or whatever it is, this kind of covers that. And Jenny, my friend who's in Connecticut now,
yeah.
decked out because my friend goes all the way. There is no half with this. She set up this gorgeous display, and I guess with this small town they live in, Connecticut, they do it with a ton, and that way kids can trick or treat to the cars and get the experience, but in the day when it's safe and all the rest of it. So yeah, I very much love that. The thing I was mentioning to my dad when we were very first starting. So I don't know how you guys feel about this. People get angry really easily now, and they get offended really easily now. And I'm okay with having a reaction to stuff. But so Cynthia Erivo is pissed. And if you don't know, she's going to be playing Elphaba in the new Wicked movie. She is a phenomenal singer.
Extraordinary.
Like phenomenal
extraordinary
singer.
Voice and presence.
British musical theater performer. Somebody took the poster that they've done for the new Wicked and sort of combined it with the original poster of the show. And this is what we call fan art. Fan art. That's all it is. She has lost her damn mind and gone on a whole thing about how disrespectful it was. The biggest difference is in the poster for the film, you can see her face.
Mm-hmm.
The original poster for the musical, she's basically like Elphaba is sort of like, you can't really see anything. She's sort of in shadow.
Right.
And they did this, but with her silhouette. And she has said the fact that someone would dare to take away her eyes.
Oh, dear.
And I'm just sitting there going, really, kids? This is what we're going to fight about today? Somebody did fan art and you didn't like that they made it look like they took away your eye? I just don't do well with this. Oh, Jay is saying he saw you and Mommy on Friday walking out of AFI Fest. Yeah, they hit a couple of screenings, and you've liked everything.
Yeah, so, we saw The Order the other day, which doesn't open until December. Very good film with Jude Law and Journey Smollett and Nicholas Hoult was there. The two of them were there. And it's really good. It's based on a real story, a very upsetting real story about white supremacists.
An upper.
Yeah.
An upper on a Friday night.
But it's very gripping and well done.
Yeah. They did not go.
And I'm sorry, I don't remember the director's name. He's an Australian fellow, and I'm not familiar with his work.
I have a computer in my hand.
That's right.
They were going to go see Maria last night. It is Justin Kurzel.
Yeah.
Mark Maron plays Alan Berg. There you go.
That's right.
They were going to go see Maria last night. But after a day of toddler party, they did not have the energy. But because my dad is voting, he did have a screener of it, and they watched it, and you liked it.
Very much. This is the film where Angelina Jolie
plays Maria
Callas. And she's really, really good. This is no small mountain to climb.
Yeah.
And it's written by Stephen Knight, one of my favorite screenwriters, the man who created Peaky Blinders.
Yeah.
Long list of credits.
Yeah.
And directed by Pablo Larraín, who made Jackie, and then what was it called?
The Diana one that's something else.
Yeah.
That's terrible. Genuinely one of the worst movies I've seen in a long time.
And we all saw it together, the whole family.
Me, my husband, my parents, we all saw it at Telluride, sitting behind Ed Harris.
Yeah.
Who also didn't like it. I've bitched enough about that film.
Okay.
But this is my problem, and I will tell you. I do have an issue with people not being more straightforward about how much of a movie is real and how much is not.
Yeah.
I understand that when you say based on a true story or whatever, that's supposed to cover your bases. But if you saw that movie where Kristen Stewart plays Diana, and she does a good job, though my husband, do you remember what Scott said?
No.
I said, what'd you think? He said, I hated it from the moment she opened her mouth. That's what my husband said. Most of the film is completely made up. And it wasn't until people started asking more specific questions of Pablo Larraín that he goes, oh, this is my imagining of what happened that weekend.
Spencer. It's called Spencer.
This is my imagining of what happened that
See,
weekend.
that was in this cranium.
It's all in there somewhere.
It just takes a little more time to pull it out.
But you did it.
But I did it.
Why make a movie that you're saying is about Princess Diana and this very specific Christmas weekend, which did happen in real life, which was sort of like the last hurrah for them as a family.
Mm-hmm.
And then you make this movie where she's like trying to kill herself, or she's having crazy conversations, she's hallucinating, all these terrible things are happening. And you don't tell anybody that you made all of this up until someone goes, so, the research and all that. He goes, oh, this is just what I thought would happen.
Well, movie-wise, this week, there was one highlight. Stands out above all else. And no disrespect to AFI.
You
AFI
had
Fest.
a true Hollywood experience.
Yeah. Robert Zemeckis is a USC cinema grad and pays a lot of attention to his alma mater.
As many of them do. The USC grads they really do come back.
Yeah, and he funded a digital film center down there. I say down there, it's downtown.
That way.
Yep.
That way's downtown.
And so he has a new film which debuted at AFI Fest Friday night called Here.
Did you read it said the world premiere?
Yeah.
And all I kept thinking was, no, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
And on Thursday night, he came to my class, which we were expecting. And that day he said, I'm going to bring Tom Hanks. So my class did not know. And so we watched the film, which I'll talk about in a minute. And then I introduced him, and we had a nearly full house. And very happy to be there, sat down, but there was an empty chair next to him. And I said, should we fill that chair? He said, yeah. I said, Tom Hanks. And the place exploded. It's not just any actor. He's not just any movie star. He's Tom Hanks, damn it. And he does not disappoint.
Tom Hanks is everything you want him to be. He is every single thing you want him to be. He is kind. He is funny. He is very generous. Very generous. Everybody who's ever worked on a set with him will tell you. I have friends who've been extras on his films.
Mm-hmm.
He talks to the extras like he is the star we deserve. And then on top of that, he's really talented. It helps that he's also really talented.
Yes.
But
and he's daring.
Oh yeah.
He tries things.
Yeah.
I did not see that version of Pinocchio that they made.
No one needs to see that version of Pinocchio.
I had no interest in seeing.
No one in the world needs to see that.
But does that mean I have lost my respect for the people who made it? No. That was one film.
Yeah.
This is the man who made Back to the Future. This is the man who made Used Cars. A particular favorite of mine.
So Friday morning, class is Thursday night. I didn't see my parents when they came home because I was a daisy. Friday morning, I say to my dad, I said, so how was it? And he said, it was great, blah, blah. And I said, so did you greet them when they came in? He goes, actually, it's funny. He was going to the bathroom. There's nothing dirty about this. You're okay.
No.
He was going to the bathroom.
And
from the stall, here's Tom Hanks and Robert Zemeckis talking in the bathroom. To which I said, thank goodness you've met them before.
Yes.
Or that would have been very awkward. Would have been a very awkward first time going, well, hello, gents. Should we
Yes.
all wash our hands together?
Yes. Thanks for sharing.
I mean, it's funny, though. It's funny, though.
It is funny, but thanks for sharing.
I'm just saying.
Anyhow, here opens next, I think, next Friday.
Something like that.
Yeah. So I won't do a formal review.
Basic, you liked it.
Yeah, I liked it.
You liked it.
And Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah.
I mean, I went through the whole list with my class to see which ones they knew, which ones they didn't know. You know, and Back to the Future.
That's the big guy.
Hands down.
That's the big boy.
Hands down. That's the one that is still contemporary, still current.
Well, they just made a musical out of it as well.
Right. My former schoolmate Alan Sylvester.
Yeah, that's right.
And
but yeah, so it was perfect. They had the best possible experience.
It was wonderful, and we allowed a lot of time for questions and answers.
Yeah.
So I got to interview them first, and then my class got to ask questions. And when a student asked him about acting, Tom Hanks, who has obviously done this spiel before, but it's not like anything he said by rote. He meant it. He said, there are 3 things you have to know to be an actor. Show up on time. He says, there are a lot of people in this business who get a lot of work because they show up on time. And he's not really exaggerating. Know your lines. Again, something one might take for granted. One would think you could take for granted, which apparently is not the case. Mm-hmm. And then he said, have an idea. Have an idea. Having looked at the character, having read the script, having memorized the scene, have an idea of what you want to do. Someone asked about his relationship with Zemeckis over these many years. I think Castaway is their masterpiece together.
Yeah, and I don't think that's a jump.
No, and frankly, just to have had the guts to do what they did.
Oh yeah,
shut it down for a year, so that Tom Hanks could really grow that long, scraggly beard
and lose all the weight, the whole thing.
I don't know how many people would do that.
Mm-hmm.
They did, and they made a good movie to boot. Really good movie. So when they were making Forrest Gump, the first couple of days, they just started shooting, and Bob said, "We're not going to use any of this. I just want to get us all, acclimated." And on like day 3, he went to Tom's trailer, knocked on the door, and he said, "I'm going to try to repeat this as verbatim as I can make it." And he said, "That thing you're doing?" Tom said, "Yeah." "It isn't working." He's referring to the dialect and the whatever, the body language, whatever, the whole package. Bob just said, "It's not working." And Tom said, since then, he's had complete faith in Zemeckis as his director, because he knows there's no BS.
Mm-mm.
If something's not the way he wants it to be or the way he likes it, he will express that. And it was just a treat to have them there.
Yeah. And say for the kids, it doesn't, the thing is, you don't want to have famous people every week. That's, I think it sort of takes away a little bit. The idea is to have interesting people every week.
That's right.
And especially for kids who may not know what certain jobs are, who may not understand what this person does, that person does. But every now and then to get like a really big movie star never hurts anybody.
2 weeks ago, we showed Saturday Night, Jason Reitman, another USC grad, Jason Reitman. But
hi, Nicole.
But we had his DP, his director of photography, Steven Spielberg. No, I got it wrong.
Imagine being named Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
Do your parents hate you?
Imagine it. You have to imagine because it's not true.
Okay.
We had this production designer, Jess Goncourt, and his costume designer, Danny Glicker. And those three guys all have such experience. They've worked with everybody. They worked with the Coen brothers. They've worked with all of the A-listers you can think of in modern filmmaking, and they all were very, very well spoken. I mean, that is a night that I really enjoy imparting that knowledge to my students, many of whom are not filmmakers, not
film majors
or aspiring filmmakers.
Yeah.
They come from all over the campus.
And that's part of what's nice. You know, at the very beginning of each semester, my dad will sort of take a bit of a straw poll. How many of you are film majors? How many of you are not? And he always says the same thing, which is that, you know, my goal is to make you smarter moviegoers, better moviegoers. And so, yeah, to me, and again, this is the other part, is this whole below the line talent thing. They've worked with everyone.
Yep.
They've worked with absolutely everyone. You speak to certain costume designers, certain DPs, whoever, they have worked with everybody in front and behind the camera. Those are the stories that thrill me. I want to know how that worked. I want to know how, you know, what is it like being on a Martin Scorsese set? What is it like being on a Clint Eastwood set? What's it like being on a Jodie Foster set, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know, what's it like? What is that like? Yes, I know, Craig, you have your list of movies. You're always good. He asks Craig every week, lists a whole bunch and tries to go through them, and I'm with you. But yeah, I think it's so incredibly important for people to understand what goes into everything happening, because you've heard me say it a million times, when you look at the cast, when you look at the credits as they roll at the end of a movie, these are human beings.
Yep. If
you're sitting and the credits are 5 minutes long, think about how many humans that is, how many people that is. It's wild. So Leonard, have you seen Memoir of a Snail?
Yes. And I interviewed Adam Elliott at the Animationist Film Festival last weekend, which is why we couldn't be here last weekend.
Yeah, he was away. No, we were here last week. Remember, because it got moved later.
It got moved later in the afternoon.
Got moved later, okay. So you were able to, he went after. As soon as we were done, he went. Lee, I really want to see that. Have you seen it yet?
No, not yet.
I really want to see that.
Not yet.
That's the new one with Kate Winslet.
Yeah. Mad About the Boy is a very, very good documentary about Noel Coward. Very thorough. They had access to his home movies, as well as his diaries and all of that. I've read quite a lot about Noel Coward. I'm a great fan.
Yeah.
And it's a very good film. If you know his work, if you know his career, you won't learn anything particularly new, but you'll see good stuff.
It's also valuable just to have a really solid documentary about him.
Sure.
Because as the years go, you know, the folks who do know who he is are slowly fading away.
Right. I also saw the other documentary that is new. My Name's Alfred Hitchcock,
which is the next one,
made by Mark Cousins, who does good work and very distinctive, personal.
We've gotten to know him because he's a Telluride regular.
Yeah.
So we see him.
I wasn't crazy about his Hitchcock documentary. The conceit of the film is that it is being narrated by Alfred Hitchcock, which it's not. It's by a man imitating Alfred Hitchcock.
I mean, it'd be really impressive if it was. Yes. It'd be a really impressive documentary if he narrated it.
Yes. It divides his career up into themes, recurring themes in Hitchcock films. And they use clips from everything, from the silent films right up to Frenzy, and make some very good points too. But I didn't warm up to it. I can't throw stones.
It's a good movie, but it didn't work for you.
That's correct.
Woman of the Hour?
No.
Between the Temples?
No. Don't embarrass me by what I haven't seen.
You've been seeing so much. You really have.
Yeah.
My parents.
I saw a good documentary last weekend, Blink, which we missed to Telluride.
You talked about it.
Yeah.
We talked about it last week.
Yeah.
That sounds fascinating to me. Yes, a few people have mentioned the John Williams doc because it just premiered at AFI.
And I was supposed to go, and I didn't feel up to it.
He would have to wear a tux, and he was just tired. You know how it is. He just didn't. Speaking of which, you really do need to try it on.
Yes.
The tux.
Yes.
Before I forget, you
Yeah.
need to try that on.
Yep.
If I had a time machine, which Golden Age film director would you like to meet and interview?
Well, probably Alfred Hitchcock.
Oh, yeah. Duh, yeah.
Most decidedly Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah.
The first director I actually did see, not meet, but see in person was Ruben Mamoulian. And what a great entry, what do you call it, gateway.
Plus, it's just a fun
example.
name to say. Ruben Mamoulian.
This is the man who directed the original production of Porgy and Bess on stage, the original production of Oklahoma on stage, then did the pioneering early talkie Applause with Helen Morgan, the Frederick March version of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, the first all 3-color Technicolor movie, Becky Sharp. These are all milestones in his career and in American entertainment. And he was a very eloquent man. It was just great to listen to him, to watch one of his films and then hear him speak about it. And he really opened a door for me. No, I never met Kenneth Tynan, I'm sorry to say.
Frank says, I would love for Williams to come to the Maltin house and show the film to you guys. Yeah, so would we. That would be wild. I know that John went. John Burlingame went because obviously he was so excited about it. Have you ever seen a film by the Danish film star Asta Nielsen, and what do you think of her?
I have, but I couldn't talk about her intelligently off the cuff. Sorry about that.
I wish there was a documentary on Ernest Lubitsch.
Ernst.
Sorry. One of the things that I do find really interesting is who does, and in turn who does not have a documentary about them, because there are a number of them. I'm sort of surprised that there isn't anything on them. And then there's others where there's like 15. So you kind of want to go do a new one, find somebody else.
Okay.
I want you to do a documentary about your girlfriend.
Thaumatal.
That's what I want.
Okay.
I want you to do a documentary about Thaumatal.
To answer Craig, I met Alan Jones, and I met his son Jack Jones, who just passed away this week, and I admired them both. Alan Jones was a very fine singer, good-looking guy, who is in A Night at the Opera and A Day at the Races with the Marx Brothers. It's become his claim to fame, the latter-day claim to fame. He introduced a song in an operetta at MGM called The Donkey Serenade, which became his signature song. And I met him at one of those Jive Jackson Jill's reunions.
Of course.
And he had a first generation video camera. He was taking home movies. So he wasn't living in the past.
Yeah.
And he was a very, very nice man. At least, meeting him briefly and socially.
Yeah.
And when we went to Catalina Jazz Club to see Jack Jones 5 or 6 years ago, and he thanked me for being so nice to his dad. That was no chore.
Yeah. Man. It's again, there's so many. I'm looking at folks recommending different things. Scott Eyman has a great book on Lubitsch, Laughter in Paradise. Any of Scott Eyman's books. Again, because I am severely dyslexic, I don't get to read. But what I have is my own personal Cliff Notes who tells me everything. And it is fascinating because when you have someone who devotes themselves in that way, and it's years, his books take years to do. It's so dedicated. Speaking, Ken Burns has a new film that is going to be on today, I think.
Leonardo da Vinci.
Yeah. Because I saw him posting about that. He's another one. When we interviewed Ken, I've known Ken most of my life because of Telluride. And I had never seen for years, I'd never seen any of his films. He was just Ken, and he gave the best hugs. and his daughters were around my age, and so I loved seeing them. And it was just very it was, he was like family kind of a thing, you know. And so then to get older and start to understand him, and to start to understand all the references people make to him in things. Hell, he's a thing in Final Cut Pro.
He is an effect.
Yeah.
There's the Ken Burns effect,
Which is very funny. But we finally got to interview him, and I said to him, for all the years that I have known you, I have never talked to him about film, ever. I've never had a conversation with that man about film. The closest would be we both came out of a movie together, and I'd say, "Did you like it?" That was it. So it was really thrilling to sit with him and get to ask him questions. Well, he's someone who is always working on his documentaries like 5 at a time.
Yeah.
Because they also take years. So he'll be doing baseball,
Country music.
DiCaprio,
Da Vinci.
Exhaustion, Da Vinci. He'll be doing all of these things at once.
His team will be
Yeah.
One of them will be at phase 1, one will be
Yeah.
at phase 4, juggling all these projects in the air so
Yeah.
that they can get done, completed on some sort of
So,
schedule.
yeah, some sort of many year long schedule.
Yeah.
But yeah, it really is fascinating the way people work and the way they dedicate themselves to this. And we're lucky because we just get the spoils.
Yeah.
You know, we do the easy part, which is see it when it's finished and enjoy it.
If you've never seen The Dust Bowl, talking about great documentaries,
Yeah.
The Dust Bowl is a remarkable documentary. And I said that to Ken, having seen it not too long before we met in Telluride that year. He said, that film seems to have touched people in a way that his others haven't. I mean, there's a relationship people have with that story, because which I didn't know, the Dust Bowl of the 1930s was man-made.
Mm-hmm.
It was because they dug up land that was not meant to be farmland, not meant to be plowed. And
CJ says I live in it. Yeah.
Anyway, that's
no, it is fascinating, that whole thing and the history of it. And yeah, I think probably part of it is just because it is one of the most universal, but also it's the most sort of human.
Yeah.
These are regular people. These are not, you know, artists or anything. This regular humans.
And he got to got to shoot the documentaries in time to get elderly people
who lived through,
who were still alive and had vivid memories of what it was like. People in their 90s. People are living longer now, by and large, and he captured them, and that's so valuable.
Yeah. Say it's wild, and it's really, really special. We're lucky to have that. We're lucky to have that saved somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, say that there have been so many movies. I'm trying to think of all the stuff you've been watching, because you and Mommy have gotten back on it, trying to keep up with everything. I watched the new film that Anna Kendrick directed for Netflix about the kill. It was called Woman of the Hour. And it's let me get it right for you. This is her, I think it's her directorial debut. And it's about Rodney Alcala, the serial killer, and when he was on The Dating Game. And this was an interesting one because it's good, it's fine. She didn't direct it. Sorry, she directed it, she didn't write it. It's one of those things where it's fine, but I do not think I gained anything from it. It ended and I kind of went, okay. And that was it. It was sort of just like it happened and then it was over. It is fascinating. And if you don't know the story, it's even crazier that this serial killer went on the dating game show and won. He won. So she says that this is from the woman who chose him sort of point of view. And she is no spoiler, but in real life, the woman who did win decided not to go on a date with him because she was creeped out by him, which is a fair response because he was a serial killer. But the film itself is one of those where nothing came from it.
Well, that happens.
And as I said, so it's not like it's bad or good. It just sort of is. And I've seen it now, and I don't ever need to see it again. And there's nothing about it that would make me say you should go see it. It just was there. And as I say, those are really strange moments. I also watched Trap because it's now come on to Apple. And that, you know who's in it? And I had no idea. And I wish I knew because I would have said something to her about it, is Haley Mills.
Oh, really?
She plays the FBI agent, and they don't reveal it. You only hear her voice initially. And I immediately knew who it was because it's a distinctive voice. And you only see her towards the end. And I really want to ask her, how the hell did you end up in an M. Night Shyamalan movie playing an FBI profiler? Because there has to be a story there. There has to be a story. I will say, especially considering how much of a letdown many of M. Night, or as he calls himself, Night's films and TV shows, because I watched, he had a show on Apple for a while, The Servant. I watched that. That was a great first season. Then, Good People just sort of lost its way. Evanier says, which Haley Mills? There are two of them. Trouble, Evanier. Trouble.
Yes, that's the other film. Conclave.
Yes. Colin saying it's a bit of a gag. She's ensnaring a parent in a trap. Winner for you. But anyway, I actually think it was pretty well done. I think, especially having been let down by a lot of his stuff, this one I thought was pretty good. And Josh Hartnett's great. I love Josh Hartnett. I have grown up loving Josh Hartnett. When we interviewed him, we got offered him, and my dad is familiar, but not anything special. And I was like, yes, we'll take him. Yes. In person, tall, handsome, very Midwest. So interesting, really kind and really thoughtful. And it was one of those where when it ended, my dad was taken with him. You know, I was already on that boat from the time I was about 10, but he got on it.
Yeah.
And he's really good in this.
Yeah.
He's really good in this.
I'm glad for that.
So yeah, so that's on Apple now, and you can give it a try.
The Harmonists is one of those unsung movies that I am very, very strong on.
Yeah.
I'm a proselytizer for that film. There was a vocal group in Germany called the Comedian Harmonists. They were very, very popular, and they were also very skilled musicians who did, there were 6 of them, I think. And you can find their music online. You can find YouTube clips and such. They were really, really good, except Jewish. So they lived through the rise of Hitler and the Nazi Party and all of that. And several of them wound up here in America. One of them, I believe, became a cantor in San Francisco.
Probably made a very good cantor.
Yeah, I'm sure. Anyway, it's a great film called The Harmonists. And it's an example of...
Does it exist yet? Does it live somewhere?
Oh, yeah. Look it up. It was acquired by Miramax in its heyday. Harvey Weinstein, whatever else you can say about him, and there's a lot, and most of it's negative, had great taste.
Is it? It was an old one.
Yeah.
Okay, it's made in 1997.
Yeah.
And you can buy it and rent it on Amazon.
Okay. It's really good. And they're also they did as a Broadway show. Barry Manilow wrote a Broadway musical about them too.
Are you a Fanalo? I just love that they're called Fanalos. Forgive me.
I didn't know that.
Oh, they're called Fanalos. One of my favorite names. Linda's saying, Jess, I wanted about 40 minutes of it, and it just wasn't doing it for me. This is the woman of the hour. Yeah, as I say, it's just very strange feeling when you watch something and it just doesn't. You know what I mean? It finishes and you go, well, that was a thing I watched. Like, I'm not angry I watched it. It's not one of those where I think, Jesus, I can't believe I just wasted all this time. It's more so just, oh, it ended? Okay. You know, Sean says, I watched Trap yesterday. Hartnett's performance is a standout from a rather uneven film. I agree with you. Part of the problem with it is that, so one of M. Night Shyamalan's daughters is supposed to be this Taylor Swift-esque star that everyone loses their minds over. And she's fine. She's fine. But you get a lot of her in this film. And there's a lot of songs and a lot of dance numbers and all this sort of stuff. And it's like, yeah, I watched it on Max. Sorry, that's where I watched Trap, is on Max. But like, she doesn't need that much of the movie. You know what I mean? Like,
well, that's always a problem in a movie where there's a movie called The Hard Way, Warner Brothers, early 40s, that actually is the story of Ginger Rogers and her mother. But they made it Joan Leslie and her sister, played by Ida Lupino. And the sister is the one that has the drive. Joan Leslie supposedly has the talent to become a star, but only with her sister pushing her and getting rid of her boyfriend.
You always got to get rid of the boyfriend. They always got to get the boyfriend out of
Yeah.
there. Yeah.
Anyway, some people were very upset when they learned it was being made, and when it came out, there was no lawsuit, but it was not a pretty.
But there
picture.
would have been at a different time.
But the problem is, Joan Leslie, who was always very nice and very pleasant in films and very likable, was not the Broadway star that they purported her to be, her character to be in the film. Yeah. And when you can't support that aspect of a movie.
Do you remember you had this with Be Cool? It's one of the first times that we had a deep conversation about this specific issue. Do you know what I'm talking about? Excuse me. It's the one with Christina Milian. It's got John Travolta, a whole bunch of people.
Yeah. Is this the sequel to Get Shorty?
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah.
But the thing was, the Trap was the M. Night Shyamalan. Yes, that's the one. When you saw Be Cool, you said to me, I liked it. It was fine. But you're supposed to think Christina Milian is this one-of-a-kind, incredible performer, and she just isn't. And it's something that has stuck with me from that, because it's true. When you're watching something where someone is supposed to be, whether it's a movie star, a singer, whatever it is, if you don't feel like that person is that thing, it doesn't work. At the same time, when you see someone, because we were talking about Maria this morning, I brought up what's her name's, telling you, my brain is just complete. Marion Cotillard's performance in La Vie en Rose.
Which is breathtaking.
Which is, absolute. She's incredible. She's incredible. And part of what makes that movie so interesting, because obviously the story itself about Edith Piaf is interesting.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But you also have this woman who is just blowing you away with her performance, and she ages through it, and they do a really good job aging her.
Yep.
So every part of that.
And they shot, of course, out of sequence.
Yeah.
She talked about that when she came to my class.
She came to class. We had her in class, and this is when the movie had just come out. She was just starting to get some buzz.
No, the movie had been out.
Yeah.
But I knew that my students.
No, but I'm saying the movie had been out, but it wasn't hitting yet.
Yeah.
And the kids were not yet super familiar. And she's in person, she's stunningly beautiful, and she's so poised. My dad and one of the guys that runs the class and me, we were sort of standing there staring at her because she was just exquisite. And then she gives this performance that, just as I say, blows you away. So that, that's the difference. Then, yeah, Sean is saying M. Night's daughter has probably as much screen time as the two main characters. I get it. He's a proud dad, but just her presence is overwhelming. That's my thing. She's good.
Yeah.
But she's not. There was a lot of her.
Yeah.
I also loved Marion Cotillard in Midnight in Paris. So
Marion
she's fantastic.
Is great.
She's fantastic. This is not a question. But as I say, it makes such a difference when you see someone who has that star quality.
Right.
And if they're playing someone who's supposed to have that effect, it doesn't work if they don't.
Yep. My
dad has a plethora of tiny random toys for you today.
Before we run out of time, I thought I'd bring the items that I keep close to me on my desk. My desk is so full of stuff I've never signed a letter on my desk because
He
there's
doesn't
no
need
room.
space.
No room. These are little tin toys made by a company that in Europe that does tin soldiers.
Yeah.
And for whatever serendipitous reason, they did Stan and Ollie.
Yeah. There they are. Frank is asking you to go on about Conclave. I cut you off. We have, I'm going to be posting a review today that my dad just sent me of Conclave. You really, really liked it.
Liked it a lot. This is a hand toy.
This is one of my favorites, and I've sat at my dad's desk for way too long trying to get it to do it. It's a Harold Lloyd sort of drawing, and I don't know if you can, it's hard to see, but he's got glasses in there. And
you have to manipulate it.
You have to move the thing around to get the glasses to sit where they're supposed to on his face, which again, I can't show you with this, but it's one of my favorite items.
We spent a day in Prague some years ago, and I had been tipped to the fact that there's a Karel Zeman Museum. It's Karel Zeman, who made fantastic films using animation, visual effects. He was a one of a kind, a real pioneer, and he made a film of the incredible, or the fabulous Baron Munchausen. And this is a lead. It's a lead toy.
You know, it's a lead toy.
It's like a paperweight.
That thing that they tell all of us to not hold.
And that's
and breathe.
Very, very nicely done. This is one of two bottles I have of Hopalong Cassidy hair trainer.
Let me tell you, the other bottle, the insides look even more terrifying than this one. As a kid, part of me wanted to open it, and then part of me thought that it was just anthrax at this point. Your bigger one has like things floating in it. You really, at some point, we should probably empty them.
I guess.
Because I can only imagine that they may explode. Though the fact that they haven't yet is pretty amazing. Yeah. Hopalong Cassidy hair trainer. There's nothing like it to train stubborn hair. Keeps hair neat all day long.
All day long.
Greaseless, won't stain. That's what I look for in a training hair oil thing.
I haven't been up the hill at Universal in a long, long time, but we used to live quite close, and we were there as they built City Walk, and I'm talking decades ago.
You used to be able to park right in front of the movie theater.
Yes,
but no more.
But one day I found this little Universal globe. And I didn't find it up
Universal
there.
Studios Japan trademark.
Yeah. I bought this something on eBay because it is the Universal globe.
Yeah.
The folks at Applause do wonderful renderings of characters in horror, sci-fi, and fantasy films. And I love this of the Invisible Man. It's a little desktop version. There's a full-sized one too. It shows that somebody who really knows and loves that movie worked on that, on that piece. And then grand finale. This is a roll of Scotch tape, but it is tuck tape. On one side, you see Jerry Lewis, and on the other side, you see his partner, Dean Martin.
And why is it called tuck tape?
It was just a brand name. And
because if anybody likes watching drag queen stuff like I do, the term tuck tape has a very, very, very different meaning.
I can get that. I can infer that. Well, I had found one of these, and then the day before I interviewed Jerry Lewis at the Museum of Television and Radio and Television, I had a chat with him on the phone, and I said, "Why did you guys endorse tuck tape?" He said, he says, because the man who owned and ran the company had muscular dystrophy.
Ah, yes.
And so
that meant a lot to him.
That meant a lot to him. And And that's why. And he brought me one of these from his home.
Wow.
So I actually have two.
You have had a lot. You had a lot of really wonderful experiences with Jerry Lewis.
Yes, I did.
Considering the negatives of him,
Yeah,
he really liked you.
he
And
did.
you guys had a lot of really, really
He
nice.
did. I was very fortunate. I
yeah,
was not.
exchanges.
He was not apparently one of nature's noblemen, but
Is that correct? Why don't publicists use that term? That's a great way to put it.
But he had a gift.
Yeah.
He had a gift, and he squandered some of it. But he was genuinely funny.
Hmm.
And when he wanted to be, he was genuinely funny.
I was also amazed because when we'd gone down those wonderful click holes of watching him on the Andy Williams show and stuff like that, I really didn't know that he could dance and sing, because he could really do both.
Oh, yeah.
That's the thing. Sometimes when being a comedian is so much a part of, who you are, you don't necessarily get to see the other skills.
He was a show business creature. And he was of the generation that grew up idolizing Al Jolson. And poor Jolie gets a bad rap because he performs so much in blackface. Which was a popular style or fashion of the early 20th century.
Well, you know how we are, which to me, you can't look back at things and judge them, because otherwise you'll be sitting and looking at absolutely everything and thinking that the world is going to fall apart.
Yeah.
You can look at things now and you can absolutely say this is unacceptable, because it was, but it's sort of like you had this Amos and Andy poster that was in our kitchen for years. I did not know that those were two white men, because in the pictures of them, they are not. And so for years of staring at that, I didn't realize that that's what that was. It's an art form. I think it's important for people to talk about it, but we also, again, don't have to pretend like it doesn't exist and that we must hate everyone who partook. Yes, our dog does like to be scratched. Logan will sit in your lap to get pets all day long. It is his favorite thing. Stephanie, yes, I've often said that it's my parents' collection that started COVID. The amount of diseases that must be in these bottles, the different stuff that they have. I mean, again, look at the color of that.
Don't look.
Well, as I say, Dad, the other one that's been sitting on your desk could honestly implode at any moment. The fact that it hasn't sort of shocks me. There's absolutely things in this house that could and would kill you. I'm sure of it. But yeah, it's Jolson never needed a mic on stage. That is true. Neither did Jerry Lewis. But yeah, it's a really tricky thing. And I get it. I get that, we need to make sure that people know something isn't acceptable, but at the same time, maybe, as I say, just don't lose the thing altogether.
I saw, and in response to Michael, I saw and read Jerry Lewis saying very nice things about Frank Tashlin, not ignoring him. Jerry had an ego as big as all outdoors. And that was obvious to anyone who spent any time watching him or being with him. But he gave full credit to Frank Tashlin for everything that he brought to their films. Jerry did every year. The Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences has a lecture on the subject of comedy, and it's in the name of Jack Oakey, who left behind a bequest to fund this series. One year I had the honor of doing the Jack Oakey lecture, and then one year it was Jerry Lewis. And he's so interesting. It's kind of fascinating the way a science experiment can be fascinating. And somebody got up and left at some point. And I spoke to him like a month later or something like that. And he said, and you go out and you do your best and all that. And sometimes, some people will will walk out, and it hurts. It hurt him. One guy left. Maybe he had to go to the bathroom.
Yeah.
You know, maybe his wife was delivering a child, but it was a rejection, and it stung. I found that so interesting.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter how famous you are, to a certain degree, things still hurt, which I find really interesting. This sort of like the Cynthia Erivo, to bookend. There is a singer right now who's quite popular named Chapel Roan, not her real name. And she is getting a lot of attention because she has been striking back at photographers who speak to her rudely, striking back at fans who try to take pictures with her and do all this and that. And she's just angry a lot. And this is something for me. I am all for your boundaries. I am all for having your boundaries and telling people what you are and are not comfortable with. There are a number of actors, directors, whoever, who have said they will not take photos when they're out with their families. They'll say hello to you, but they don't want to take pictures. That is your right, 100%. You are a human being. You're allowed to say that. But when you get angry at these people, and when you are on red carpets lashing out at photographers who you feel are being rude and whatever it is, to a certain point, you do have to ask, are you sure you want to do this? Because to me, as I say, similar to the Cynthia Erivo, and a bunch of people were talking about the original poster, the Wicked poster, and how different they are. Why let yourself get so angry about something like that? Someone did fan art that you can reference. It's not even like they just went in and took her face away for fun. It's a very specific reference to the original poster that so many people know and love and have t-shirts of, and posters have been on their walls since they were teenagers. It's a special one. And this, I think about the people, Jerry Lewis, massive ego that he had, loved meeting people that loved him. In general, he loved fans. He'd sign things. He'd take pictures. We know that he did raise a lot of money with his marathons. Telethons, sorry. With his telethons. It's like there's something my mom likes to refer to as toilet training. It's people were taught sort of how to handle things, because there are ways to handle things like a grown-up, and then there's ways to handle things where you just sound like a petulant child. And to me, if you want to be in this, maybe we just have to sort of find a better way of saying something. That recently happened to Denzel Washington. Well, can you imagine? There's a thing. Can you imagine being Denzel Washington? You're so famous. He's been on a bunch of the shows because he's in the next Gladiator movie coming out with Paul Mescal.
And he also been involved in the movie The Piano Lesson.
Right.
His son is one son directed it.
Right.
Another son is in it.
Yeah. But it's like, but even he tends to handle things pretty darn well. As I say, you are absolutely allowed to tell someone you don't want a photo with them or you don't want to sign an autograph. It is not required of you, but there are just ways to do it. There are ways to do it. And that's where I do miss people being taught a certain way.
Yeah.
Again, like
groomed.
That's it. Yeah. Well, again, we talked about how, Mitzi Gaynor passed away last week. She was someone who loved her fans, loved meeting the people, loved being on stage, deeply, like it was very special to her.
If someone called out, as they often did, love you, Mitzi.
I love you too.
No, love you more.
Love you more with a wave.
Yeah.
And it's just like, as I say, that to me is something that I think a lot of folks today are missing, because this is supposed to be fun and there is supposed to be joy in it. Even Taylor Swift has said, I chose this.
Okay.
She repeatedly says, I chose this. I wanted this. I chose this. Because you did. No one's making you be famous.
Am I going to lose points by referring it to Wicked Part 1?
I don't know what in the hell. I don't know how we're doing it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I'm sure they'll tell us very soon.
Yeah.
I'm sure Cynthia Erivo will be out there to tell us how we're doing it wrong at some point very, very soon. Wicked, not to be confused, of course, with Wicked, duh.
Nice.
Thank you.
Nice.
Thank you, guys. We're so happy to be with you. Thank you for joining us on a Saturday. Jesus. You just do it. I'm too tired. I'm so tired. You do it.
Hi.
Hi.
So glad you were with us today. It is Sunday.
Is it?
And we will see you again next Sunday, right here, same time, same station.
Yeah, Frank, that's the whole thing. They're making 2 Wicked movies. They're making one, and then you have to go see the other one. I don't get it. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody, and be kind.